Okay.
There are 2 meetings in September,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yep.
2 opportunities
Yep.
in September.
Two
You
up.
got it. Thank you.
Ms. McNeil, please. Elaine McNeil first, and then Crystal, and then Joan Fisher.
I assume you want me to. My name is Elaine McNeil. I live at 9457 Agate Street in South Gulf Cove here in Port Charlotte. And like a lot of my neighbors and friends, I'm concerned about a 25% increase. I'm concerned about an additional 6% every year for 6 years. When I do my present value tables, that means about $106 is going to cost me about $170 in 6 years prevailing interest rates. I think that's very high. Another concern I have is when I've read about this, I haven't seen anything about what the fire department is doing to save money. I look at the newspaper and I see that there's 3 fire department or fire buildings up for public auction. I don't know why those buildings can't be rehabilitated and used. I don't know why, as a citizen, I don't understand whenever I see a car accident. I see, even if it's a fender bender, I see a fire truck there instead of an ambulance. It seems like we're spending a whole lot of money maybe we don't need to spend for those kind of activities. I've lived in other cities before, and when there's a wreck, they send an ambulance and a police car maybe. But I saw one just the other day on 776, and there's 3 fire trucks sitting there, 2 ambulances and 2 police cars. Seems like a bit of overkill to me, and I think maybe we should look into that. I'll tell a little personal story. I have a hip that dislocates very easily, and 3 times it's dislocated, and I've had to call 911 for assistance. And every time I've said, I have a dislocated hip. I know exactly what the problem is because it's a dislocated hip. I can't get in the car and drive. Every time a fire truck and an ambulance has shown up. And I know that a fire truck doesn't get very good gas mileage. Thanks.
Thank you. Crystal up. Ladies and gentlemen, please. Crystal Ufferman, please. Then Joan Fisher, then Dennis Chapman.
Hi there, I'm Crystal Ufferman. I live on O'Hare Drive in Port Charlotte. I first want to start out and say I love the fire department. They do a wonderful job. I don't have any complaints about what they do or diminish their purpose to help us. But one of the things I am concerned about is bringing this 25% increase, assessment, whatever you want to call it. It's a tax to us. 25% all at one time. We had the hurricane last year. There's so many people that's struggling to get their house rebuilt. I am. My house is not done. I've not been able to afford the crooked contractors that wanted to charge me out the. So I've had to sit on it until I can get a charge that I can afford, because my budget is about like that. So to bring on this 25% for me and a lot of my neighbors that are struggling it's just, it will set people, they'll lose their homes. They will absolutely lose their homes. The seniors, I'm a senior. A lot of seniors are on a fixed income. I'm on a fixed income. My yearly income does not go up 4%, 25%. I have X amount of dollars to spend, and that's what I have to spend. Now, when looking at some of the documentation for this 25% increase, I was trying to figure out what are they going to spend the money on. So it appears to me that in 22, fiscal year 22, 61% of the money, of their budget for personnel and benefits, 61% was out of that pot of money. With this increase of 25%, they're now going to go to 72% for personnel and benefits. They just got a raise for 4%, according to my average calculations. And they also just got 7 new people since 2020. So they've got 7 new people that's working for the fire department. I know that we all need new people. There's a lot of people coming in. But when I do an average on their salary for 23, fiscal year 23, we got an average, there's 168 workers, and the average is $143,564. Now, we all know that 168 people don't make that kind of money. So you got a lot of layering up above there. And for a county job, I used to work for a county. I know what the pay scale was. And for us to count our pennies to go to the grocery store, and they're making an average of $144,000 a year. I mean, I get it. People need to make money to live, but I don't make anything like that. I mean, sorry. I just want you to consider that this is not a good time for any of us. You know, if you wanted to do maybe a 6%, I'd be okay with that. You know, and I could scrape some more pennies together. But for a 25% and then a 6% and a 6% and a 6%, when will it end? They'll get used to spending the money and we'll never get out of this. People are losing their homes. Thank you for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Joan Fisher, Dennis Chapman, and then Paul Polk.
Good evening, Commissioners. Commissioners, Joan Fisher. I'm concerned by the MSBU increase for the fire department equipment. Is this to purchase a special vehicle to meet the needs of the Sunseeker building? What is Sunseeker's MSBU contribution to the fire department, its need for $56 million? I am concerned that we, the taxpayers' MSBU cost will increase for education and many other things, and especially now that we must support private schools. I am concerned that education is being diminished by our governor and supported by members of the Florida legislature. Too many county costs are being levied on residents. Let's talk CRA, Community Redevelopment Area. The purpose, to improve a slum area. A 10-year timetable, roughly. Charlotte Harbor was designated a CRA in 1992. It is still a CRA. Therefore, all new taxes collected above the 1992 rate remain in the CRA. County taxpayers pick up the increased cost of county expenses. Murdoch Village was declared a slum area by eminent domain. Businesses and new homes were destroyed and bought out by the county. That's us, the county, the taxpayers. The cost, $120 million plus interest on our loan at the bank, which went up to $156 million. We, the taxpayers, paid off part of the debt, and I believe there's still a current debt of maybe around $40 million. Let's talk impact fees. And this is important because of what the purpose of impact fee is. A newcomer fee on a new home was $10,000 when I moved here. It was a pay forward for new libraries, fire stations, police stations, and more. In recent years, you reduced those fees to around $2,400 to encourage more development and increase of population. Sunseeker saw a great reduction in their costs. Population did not increase greatly according to your staff. You have increased the fee, but not to the $10,000 level. But we, the resident taxpayers, paid for the new libraries, etc. Didn't we, the taxpayers, recently purchase a $1.1 million Hollywood pretend flame projector machine so the fire department could practice putting out pretend flames at an airport, the Charlotte County Airport in Punta Gorda, that serves Allegiant and Sunseeker? Commissioners said, great, other counties will send their firefighters here to practice and it will increase our tourism tax dollars. So I say, good, let's charge it to the tourism tax. What increases can we expect on our next tax bill? Oh yes, a great increase in county employee positions from what I've heard. It's already been announced. What will our new tax bill look like? The increase in one MSBU is not the end of the increases, is it? We have so many residents suffering from Hurricane Ian's destruction. Homes still unlivable, insurance companies leaving Florida and refusing to pay homeowners who trusted them, increasing rates if you can find a company to insure you. Our water is so contaminated and the loss of wildlife, and it's hurting the fishing industry. This MSBU increase is just the beginning. I thank our firefighters, our library staff, police, teachers, and the doctors and nurses who worked through the deadly COVID, and the organizations that are feeding the hungry and more. I thank them. A note on Sunseeker. I attended many Charlotte Harbor board meetings. Sunseeker said residents, that's us, can walk their boardwalk, but may not sit on their benches. The guards will have you removed. And we cannot use their golf course, but yes, you can spend your money at their restaurants. I want to throw in a cheer here for Neal Road residents who met here the other day. Commissioners finally admitted that they own Neal Road, not the Charlotte County, and the mining operations with 300 loaded trucks a day speeding on Neal Road can no longer contaminate our agricultural land and families, etc. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Next speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, please. I've asked you 3 times. Dennis Chapman. Well, go ahead, Paul. You're up here. Then Dennis can come up. So we got Paul Polk, Dennis Chapman, and Robert Dorval.
For the record, Paul Polk. I'm Charlotte County Property Appraiser. Commissioner, we've had a lot of inquiries directed to our office over the past 3 weeks or a couple weeks since these notices went out. A lot of folks calling us about this increase in the MSBU. As you know, our primary function of the Property Appraiser's Office is to put a fair market value on each property every year as of January 1st for ad valorem tax purposes. Those taxes are based on your value of your home. In doing that, we do collect data. We use this data, we collect this data and maintain this data for valuation purposes. A lot of folks use our data every day, whether it's realtors, insurance companies, the MSBU folks use our data. We also have a local water utility that actually is using some of our data to set water rates. So we've been getting a lot of questions concerning what our part is in this whole process. Again, our valuation and our data is for valuation purposes. One of the biggest questions is multiple buildings on a property. Again, they are getting assessed for each one of these buildings. We look at these buildings on the property. If you had a detached garage or a shed, these are value add. They add value. We have to collect that data and keep a number on that, valuation on that for, again, valuation purposes. Also, another big question we've got is multiple lots. We have folks that have a primary residence and they build their house on that primary residence, then later on they may acquire that adjoining vacant lot next door. Even though they consolidate those lots into one parcel, we still, on the valuation side of it, have to recognize those lots for valuation. So even though that is one parcel, we still have 3 platted lots or 2 platted lots on that parcel. And in most cases, if there's no structures on that property, on those lots, they could split those lots off and sell them at a later date. So again, we have to do this, our function, again, primarily is to set the values of the property and identify those improvements on those properties. Each year, every other year, our office is audited by the Florida Department of Revenue. They come in and do evaluation, look at our valuations. They also go out and do appraisals on properties. And during that time, they will make sure that our data is correct when we're looking at those properties. In the past, they've also gone out and looked at residential properties. Again, to verify that our data is correct as far as what is physically located on that property. Hopefully that answers a couple of questions that have been, again, directed to our office, and I appreciate you all being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dennis Chapman. Then we have Robert Dorval and Clifford Walker.
Dennis Chapman. I own property on Pittenger Avenue, which backs up to a canal. And a lot of people around here probably have property that does the same thing. You want to increase fire on my property 25%? I've seen what happens to these lots that get a fire from lightning, or homeless leaving a fire, or someone throwing a cigarette out the window. And basically what happens is the fire department sits there, watches it burn, and then leaves because they know it ain't going anywhere because the canal's going to stop it. Now, you guys want to increase this 25 and 6 and 6 and 6. Median income for people in this state is $52,000 a year. That doesn't go up 25% a year, 6% a year, 7% a year. What are you going to do when everybody has to leave their house because they can't afford your taxes? And don't tell me it's an assessment, it's a tax. You know it's a tax. I know it's a tax. Every person in this room knows it's a tax. Residential property taxes in this state by constitutional law is 3% max a year. And you know that. I don't know if everyone in this room knows that, but you know that. You know, a lot of people, I don't know if that's the percentage, but there's an awful lot of people in this county that are on fixed incomes. Their money don't go up 25% a year. The daggum government can't even figure out that we're getting like double-digit inflation this year. You think my check's going up double digits? No. You people have this great idea about increase. What do we get out of it? What do we get out of it? Huh?
Sir, direct your comments forward, please.
Someone needs to get together and figure out where's it end. Because you guys are going to tax yourselves right out of nobody living here.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Robert Dorville, Clifford Walker, and Catherine Doherty.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to start bringing people inside if you don't mind, and we'll make sure they have a card.
Okay.
We'll bring those people.
Do I have Mr. Dorville?
Read the three names again.
I did. I just did. Robert Dorville, Clifford Walker, and Catherine Doherty.
Robert in here?
They may be outside, sir.
If not, go ahead. Next person move forward. Just announce your name for me, please, and I'll move the cards accordingly. Thank you.
I'm Clifford Walker. I live at 6620 Riverside Drive in Punta, Gorda. And my concern was we've already took a hit with our insurance going up and stuff like that. We all aware that. Everybody in the room has hit that. And in the mill rate on like the other counties that I've lived in the past, Charlotte County was already higher in a mill rate than other counties I've lived in the past. And a lot of the expansion and the development of everything going on and fees to build new houses on it, that money is supposed to be going towards the fire and to improve everything around our town. So a lot of people cover a lot of the questions I already had on there, so I'll make it pretty quick, short on it too. Like Lee County has 6.5% sales tax. We're at 7% sales tax. So I know we all voted, I know I voted for the extra increase in tax, but what will happen if that tax goes away? If that tax goes away, then the assessment's gonna go up even more on this stuff. You know, 25% increase over last year on it is quite a bit, so so I hate to see that. And another thing is too, the maintenance of in the county, of mowing and cutting trees back and stuff like that. If we have contractors that are reliable that come in that you guys hire, we hire for contractors. Like I live on Riverside Drive, and I was cutting the roadways before September. Once the hurricane hit, the contract came up and someone else came along and was mowing the roadways for them. My roadway hasn't been mowed since September, since I cut it in September of 2022. So it's kind of hard to see that, hey, that my money's not getting used for it, and putting people in that aren't qualified to do the work or keeping the maintenance up on it. And you know, the thing is, if we're using taxpayer money, it's good to see it go to good use and things are actually getting done on it and stuff like that. So I appreciate you guys, all your commissioners' time and your service. Appreciate it all. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Is Robert Dorville here? Ms. Doherty, go ahead and come forward. Thank you. And then Reginald Howard.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Catherine Doherty. I have a property in Commissioner Constant's district. I would echo the sentiments that everyone has said so far, so I don't want to repeat them again. My raise this year was 2%, so obviously it would be a financial hardship on most of the citizens of this county. This was a very educational presentation for me tonight by the fire chief. To know that 87% of the calls are EMS, which I would have thought it was fire because my neighbor's house burned down a couple weeks ago, and I guess they didn't get there in time and it just burned to the ground. So I have a bunch of questions that just stimulated more questions. Is there an EMS at each fire station? And how do they determine their areas where they respond? Do they draw a circle? Or I'm not clear on how that works. Has there been any private EMS services in the county? I know that private ambulance services sometimes will bill health insurance or whatever, and they also supplement any public service. I don't know if there's any private EMS in the county. So that was another question I had. Do we have helicopters to put out fires? Because the budget's really large. I thought we might have helicopters, since it's based at the airport, the fire department, to be able to put out fires like a lot of other large counties do, because Florida has a great reputation for their fire service and their fire towers. So I'm very appreciative of that. I had done some work with the National Fire Academy a long time ago, converting their INFRS data and their call for service data. So has the fire department asked the National Fire Academy for any assistance or review of the data? That might be helpful too, anything to help the community. So I had a lot of questions on after the presentations. It got me thinking. And I would ask in conclusion that you please consider that these increases are not sustainable and they're a hardship, a financial hardship on the citizens of the county. And thank you for all that you do for us, and please keep that in mind when you're voting and making your final decisions. Thank you.
I'm going to go back to Mr. Dorville. Is he in here? Okay. I'm going to put him to the side then. I have Reginald Howard and Bill Gruner. Okay. Squid.
I'm coming. Good afternoon, Mark Draper. I think I'm number 14 on your list.
Thank you.
I have two properties subject to this proposed increase. I have a vacant lot and a single-family residence. As many of you know, I'm a lawyer, so I'm going to pick on the legal aspects of what I see, specifically the procedural notice that we received. So let me pick the first one. And first of all, I'd also like to thank Commissioner Taseo's office. They sent me the standard of cover survey after I wrote my written objection, which you should have on file to this proposed increase. It was forwarded to me by his office, and I certainly appreciate that. Let me read to you the first one I have, which addresses my vacant lot. And so I've got two different hearing notices with two different purposes for this assessment, which I find interesting and I find contradictory. and problematic. This one says that the purpose of this increased assessment, which is, when we look at it, $39 million they're asking for, says fire risks have changed due to climate, urbanization, and vegetation shifts. Now, I was outside, and it's pretty much chaotic in the hallway, and so I was unable to hear Chief Fair's presentation, which I'm sure was very good and thorough. So I don't know if he addressed what the vegetation shifts are that are occurring out there that is causing the need to increase our fire assessment. It says fire departments must adapt by investing in more resources, equipment, and personnel to effectively combat these growing dangers. The standard of cover study didn't speak to that at all. My second one, which is for the single-family residents, did specifically say a recent standard of cover study informed increased resource allocations and streamlined procedures to minimize fire and disaster impact, improving emergency service delivery through improved infrastructure, equipment, and fire prevention measures. So I looked at the recommendations and observations from the standard of cover survey that I got. This was the one I received, just so everyone can see. I assume that's the one that you all saw. But that's the one I received. And in it, nowhere did I see it state that through the delivery of improved infrastructure, equipment, and fire prevention measures. It talks about they can improve response time through more closely aligned best practices. They could coordinate better with the 911 operators. They're encouraged to utilize the proposed system of measures to improve ongoing performance. Then it concludes with, overall, the department is operating effectively and there is no systematic duplication of efforts or services. It does recommend an increase the number of fire stations. It does that they continue with what I think has already been a plan, which I assume if it's the plan is already existing to construct the fire stations, the budget for that would already be approved and in process. And so from my observation and my review of the standard of cover study that they cite as the purpose behind this increased assessment, there doesn't appear any of the reasons there to support the increased assessment. They say they can do a better job of what they're doing, but it doesn't say that they need all the additional things they're talking about. And I assume, like I say, this is an assumption that the fire stations are already in their budget. Let me conclude by saying that I went to a website, openpayrolls.com, which I think has been used before, and it was interesting in that it reveals to me that 8 of the top 10 highest paid public employees of Charlotte County are in the Charlotte County Fire and Rescue Department. 19 of the top 25 highest paid employees are in the Charlotte County Fire and Rescue Department, and 66 of the overall top 100 paid public employees of Charlotte County are in the Charlotte County Fire and Rescue Department. If you contrast Lee County at the same website, only 3 employees of their fire department appear in the top 25 paid employees of Lee County. I believe that their notice is procedurally defective and insufficient, and I believe that you should vote against the increased assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have, ladies and gentlemen, please. Mr. Kesselring, I have you in the next 3. If you want to go ahead and come around. I've called the other 2 names. Sir, for your name.
Hello. Jesus is the Lord, number 1. And my name is Gerard O'Callahan, and I'm living here in Port Charlotte for the last couple of years. We came down here to buy a house, and it fell through as all the property values have skyrocketed. So we bought a small parcel of land in the hopes of building when we can afford it. Of course, what the government has done all across the country is uprooted our whole lives, as it's done for so many who have moved to Florida. So I come here and trying to stay out and just quiet, and I see all these fees here since I come to Port Charlotte. I'm a contractor. I find out there's 40 licenses that I had to have. I mean, that they have for the different things I do. I only do about 10 of them, and I'm still like 175 this, 175 that. I can't even believe the amount of, I hear it's a right to work state, and I hear that all of these bureaucratic fees that are going on. But then I get this notice, and I see that they want 25% increase for the land. We've already had a tax increase on the plot of land we bought. I called that number on the notice, and I spoke with a couple of ladies down there, and they tell me that if you buy a lot, which ours is less than a quarter of an acre, the amount of money we're paying on the increase is way less than is the same as people who buy an acre or a tract. So I said, well, what's a tract and what's an acre? Well, a tract could be 50 acres, or an acre could be, 1 acre. So they're paying essentially disproportional amount of tax, much less than we are. And what everybody seems to know here in Florida, with all the building, first of all, I want to make sure I get this point across. The amount of revenue that's come into Florida because of the increases in the value of properties, houses that were already here, and the massive new construction, including the Allegiant monstrous project down there by the bridge on 41, is huge. The revenue that's come in is huge because of the fact that all the values of the property have gone up. So number one, that we have a disproportional tax being given to a person who has a quarter of an acre, and the person who buys the larger plot is being given a deal. Now that's, as far as I know, against equal protection of the law. And the other thing I want to say is many people are buying these huge corporations. Everybody knows that they're buying up hundreds of acres, making fortunes selling to people. Some of them are even messing up all the environmental land because they can't build on it. They take all the soil, they bring it up to put on other people's lots. People have told me this, local people. So in other words, a lot of corporate things, just like it's going around in the United States. Corporate interests are making millions, and the average working person who's trying to survive in this country is getting basically screwed. So I think there's no need for this tax. You already have tons of tax revenue increases, and there's no reason to increase the taxes at all. If anything, you could lower them. And that's certainly what I think. And like the other gentleman said, who's the lawyer, all these reasons about more vegetation and all this stuff about trees and all this, more building, therefore we need more firemen. First of all, the vegetation has gone down because of the hurricane. And all the new construction, all the buildings are concrete, and they're clearing land all over the place, so there's way less fire risk. So, I just see it as a pattern, and I am a constitutional person, believes in the Constitution, less government, and I know this is a big Republican area, but I come to find out it's starting to sound like the same communist Democrats that I came from in Connecticut. So I'd sure like you guys to start remembering that you represent the regular folks, not corporations, and I guess I'll have to leave it at that. But I'm 100% against this, and it's not. I see now it's not just this fire tax, but everything is. It's like I'd never left Connecticut. So I just could leave you with one Bible quote: "For the love of money is the root of all evil." And just remember, you represent us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Gruner. I live at 2824 Shannon Drive. It's, I'm going to spell this, W-H, or W-Y-C-H-E-W-O-O-D, Why Not Shored Subdivision. I agree with everybody I've heard tonight. I think the taxes are ridiculous. We all don't like taxes, but we got to pay them. And I hope that you all reconsider this. I think at this time you ought to be looking at more of your bigger contractors coming in and putting subdivisions in. You got the Sunseekers, you got your big buildings. I know other towns, other cities, other states. Take it on these people before they come in and build. Raise the rates before they ever dig, before they ever stick the shovel in the ground. Have something that they have to pay for the police, the fire, upgrading water lines, upgrading sewer lines, street lines. This is possible. I don't know how Charlotte County works. My wife and I moved here 4 years ago. We recently got hit with a hurricane. We thought we'd come to retire. We had to rebuild the house. I'm disability. My neighbor talked me into get my own contracting permit. I've done it myself. And now I'm getting hit with the taxes. Do I want to live here? I love the fire department. I had 15 years with the fire service up north before I come disabled. I know what it costs to run a fire department. I know what it costs to run equipment. Some people don't know. I do know, and I commend each and every one of the police, fire, and responders. Do a terrific job. A lot of schooling, tons of schooling. Every year, there's something laid on these people. I encourage everybody to get a hold of the fire department. Talk to them. Find out exactly what it costs for their equipment. I've heard people say about the fire trucks showing up. I'll give you a good example. Ambulances do not carry hearse tools. Hearse tools that cut people out of cars, the cheap cars we have today. They need the hearse tools. They need the cutters. Ambulances don't carry that. I've seen some of the wrecks in 4 years and disasters. It's crazy down here. So I understand why a fire truck shows up. I'd be thankful if a fire truck shows up. So, you know, stop and go to the fire departments. Talk to these people. As far as the taxes, though, why not raise the rates for some of these big contractors before they ever start building? Take the money from them. The building's coming. We all know it. I've seen it in 4 years down here. It's unbelievable. Work it in where their budget, where it's higher. Have them pay, you know, have a set fee for if it's a 30 unit, if it's a 2 unit, if it's a huge building like Sunseekers, you know, have something in place for these people to pay up front so it doesn't attack the taxpayers that's been here for all their lives, or me trying to retire and enjoy life. Where I live, I've had several problems just in the 4 years. Little problems. I don't like whining, I don't like crying about it. But 3 years ago, I was told that the new storm drains were coming in from 1974. So this is the subdivision I live in. And I hear all the fire protection and everything else, what's going on. Our subdivision has about 150 homes in it, maybe less. The next subdivision next to me, we're right next to I-75 and 17, which you see 100,000 dump trucks a day go by there. I mean, it's crazy. And wrecks all the time. My biggest worry is I-75, there's no barrier zone. Any kind of truck coming across there hazardous waste tips over, they're in my neighbor's backyard, in the canal, which everything's gonna empty in Charlotte Harbor. And if it does, God help all Charlotte Harbor residents that live there. So if we're gonna talk fire protection, please, as council people, come down and look at our little development. From 1974, there's never been a fire hydrant. We have no fire hydrants. Not in my development and not in the development next to me. So am I worried? I'm worried about what my tax money is going to go. Yeah, I'm worried. There is no fire hydrants around us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, go ahead and come forward. I still have Robert Dorval, Reginald Howard, David Kesselring, Donnie Young.
Are we signing in? Isn't this?
I got you right here, sir. You don't have to sign in.
Okay. I'll just kind of go in between here and try not to repeat myself or repeat what people have said, but nobody's mentioned renters. Why is their rent so high? Part of the reason, of course, is the market, but another reason is taxes. The high taxes landlords pay is passed on to those renters. It's almost like there's a war on affordable housing. I mean, this is going to cause a problem with affordable housing. It's going to add to rents, and every time you increase the rent, more people wind up homeless. Another $100 is not even a drop in the bucket for most government employees, but what do you expect these retirees to give up in order to give you yet more money? According to a report by the Florida Housing Coalition, over 1.2 million low-income households pay more than 50% of their income for housing already. This makes it nearly impossible to afford even basic necessities like food and medicine. Talking about the community risk assessment and standard of cover, it's the impetus for this tax increase. Has one of these studies ever in the history of the United States ever reduced taxes? Whenever government wants to raise taxes, they can find or create a study to legitimize more taxes. By the way, how much did this 357-page study cost? I know we have a shortfall from Ian, but what about the huge influx of property taxes from increased values of homes and people moving into the area? What about the surplus sales tax? What about all the money you spend on special interests and all the services that government shouldn't be offering in the first place? What about all that stuff? Why don't you take some of that instead of taking more money from the homeowners? What percentage of the fire and EMS budget currently goes to top administrators and others? And how much goes for these luxurious pensions? Somebody was talking about 61 to 71%. I bet a lot of that's the pensions. These records were also collected by the openpayrolls.com website. As a reference point, the salary of the county attorney and administrator are $265,000 and $216,000 sitting up here, plus benefits. What I found interesting was, as the other gentleman mentioned, was the third highest paid employee all the way down to the 10th, and plenty more after that were the highest paid. We have a fire medic getting over $185,000 a year. 3 battalion chiefs making over $182,000 a year, and over 63 other fire EMS all making 6 digits. So here's how it goes. The commissioners okay these outlandish salaries. These fire department higher-ups and bureaucrats then order their underlings to go out and hold signs and campaign for those same commissioners that the next year okay more huge raises. I heard that the endorsement for one of the commissioners came out the day after the fire budget was accepted by that commissioner. Can only guess how much these firehouse higher-ups give in huge campaign donations to the commissioners that vote for their lavish salaries. I would have verified, but this information is again hidden on the Supervisor of Elections page. Again, you have to have a special password to access any information on candidates, so we can only guess on the tens of thousands of dollars donated by the recipients of this legal plunder. This is a vicious circle that robs the taxpayers. It's so sad that some of the most honorable positions in government, and I have a lot of respect for firefighters, must be brought so low by this. When you look into these salaries, you realize that government has more than enough for equipment and given expansion, but it's all spent to make millionaires of public servants. Let me repeat that. It's spent to make millionaires of public servants instead of equipment. Look at the percentage of the salaries. I can't believe our commissioners have the gall to even attempt this scam. Ethically, morally, logically, or fairly, how can you possibly legitimize this tax hike? Vote no to this tax. Vote no to any increase in more taxes. Business is slow. We're all struggling. Please, those of you in the audience, don't forget the outcome of the vote on this tax increase and why we're even here. And when our voting time comes, remember it. Thank you.
I'm going to go back to Robert Dorval, Reginald Howard, Donna Young, and Sharon Pinio. Okay. These are, you got 6 more? Okay. All right. I've got 335 more minutes of testimony plus the ones I just got.
I'm Gary Farino, Port Charlotte.
Good afternoon.
I'd like to say that I agree with...
Please state your name for the record, sir.
Gary Farino, Port Charlotte.
I couldn't hear it. Gary,
Pull it closer.
just pull it closer to you.
There you go.
Gary Farino, Port Charlotte.
Okay.
Get that?
Lord God. I don't know if you filled out a card. That's why I'm...
Well, all I can say is I agree with everybody's been saying here today. As far as like the letter I got on the vegetation shifts and on the improvement of infrastructure, I live off a harbor there. I know from my house to Publix on Quesada at 35 miles an hour, which is the speed limit, I can get down there in 3 minutes. That's what it takes at the speed limit. And the fire department wants to do this. He says in the newspaper, they say he wants to increase that time to 8-minute response time. He says that the county wants the response time to be 3 to 4 minutes, but they need $500 to increase it in Charlotte County. I'm saying, wait a minute, If it only takes 3 minutes for me to get down there at 35 miles an hour, and they're going faster than I am, everybody gets out of their way, they got to get there in less than 2 minutes. Also, the fire department in my area, which is on Harbor, off of Harbor, is close to Veterans Road, and on the other side of Veterans Road, of course, you know, is Northport. So that fire department is not centrally located for a response time for the people in the area. I mean, the fire department should be like in the middle of an area where the response time, north, south, east, and west would be equal, and then another fire department on the other side of 41 would do the same thing. I know that this fire department up here covers the fire department on 41. I think it's down by off of 41 there. I forget what the name of the street's on. But anyway, they cover each other as far as EMS and stuff. But this 6% for the next 8 years, it doesn't make no sense. We have infrastructure that they say they want to fix. Well, when you have new buildings put in, like on Veterans and Peachland and Cochran, we had a gas station and a car wash, another gas station, another car wash. I was under the impression that I was told by the building department that the impact fees are there to pay for those infrastructures, like to widen the roads, put the sidewalks in, the street lights, and all this stuff. But nothing was done. Nothing was done there, and it's been, I don't know how many years now, and they say they don't have the money to do it. I'm saying, well, what are you doing with the infrastructure, with the impact fee? Every place you go, they get impact fee. You're going to have impact fee from Sunseekers, you're going to have impact fee from Westport, down on 776. So all this money you're getting, it doesn't seem like it's going to where it's supposed to go. And the people aren't stupid, they know what's going on. And this says here, MSBU. I was on MSBU before, but it was for street and drainage. Is there an MSBU board for the fire department? I don't know of any MSBU board for the fire department. Is there one? I never heard of it. And if there isn't, that means we're being taxed by something that we shouldn't be taxed because there's no representation by the people. And that's against the law. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There's a line back there. I'm assuming you're going to go ahead and just come up. I'm trying to find cards as I go. If you filled out a card, if you please identify that you did. If you happen to know the number like Mr. Draper did, help me out, and it makes a lot less time going through, and I pay more attention to you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is David Kalin Sr., 6171 Allen Boulevard in the Ranchettes. Gentleman, I think, spoke previously talking about some of the services and those which were not provided, and questioning about where the funds are going. I also ask from the standpoint of the Ranchettes, which was about 2 years ago, you guys pulled back and took away any road repair and servicing the roads out there because they were not public roads. And you also abandoned the storm drainage for the area. I don't know how that fits in with the DEP storm drainage requirements by the county to be able to section off each part of the county and then submit plans on how to handle that drainage. And with what you've turned over to the code enforcement group, you even pulled back having to put culverts in for driveways. So now you're coming in with asking for more money for fire department. I used to be on volunteer fire departments coming up through my younger years, and my hat's off to all first responders, our police, our fire departments, and think they deserve extra. However, when it comes to how the county's taxing and where these dollars are coming from, when we look at the economic climate, yes, we've had a large influx of people. I'm a newbie. I'm relatively new to the area and stopped doing the snowbirding. But if you take a look at it, the county, from a mean income for the county, is averaging below the Florida average by almost $4,000 a year. And when you look at it against a national average, the average family income here in the county is over $10,000 shy of what you find nationally. So the overall income per people in this county is, I won't say substandard, but it's lower. Yet we still have a lot of affluent people that have practices, have businesses, construction, etc. And you're making a phenomenal amount of money, and you're getting paid, I think, $75,000 or a little more than that as far as commissioners, which is far and above what the average citizen earns that lives in the area. A lot of folks coming in for retirement. That's what I did. I have in the small church that I attend, people living in PGI and other places. are selling their homes and moving back up to North Dakota and other places that I would not want to be. But they're moving because of the tax increase and now another tax increase, and then there's one coming this next fall proposed. And you're taxing people out. I call it lot rent. You don't pay your tax, they're going to come take your property. What that several hundreds, several $1,000s means to your pockets means a whole lot different to other people that are trying to survive on $40,000, $50,000 a year. And you start adding another $2,000, another $3,000 because their property increased in value, you're pricing them out of their homes. And I think it's inappropriate. What's coming down the pike financially for this country, and it sounds doom and gloom, but you go to J.P. Morgan with Jamie Dimon, Bank of America, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, on and on and on. And everyone is saying a financial freight train that is going to make 2008 look like a Sunday school picnic is headed towards us. I like to look positive at things. I think coming out the other side, we're going to be better. But we've got some very difficult times coming, I think, financially as a country. And I think our area here is going to be hard hit if we don't watch our spending. And I would suggest that maybe you look at where we pare back. I've been in the corporate arena, management and executive positions, where in turn, we had to cut, we had to trim, we had to run the business. Governments don't run that way, unfortunately. It's always OPM, other people's money. And at some point, people don't have deeper pockets. So I would ask that you really do some soul searching about what you're going to do with the finances in this county. It's with all good intentions. The other gentleman spoke about things like Sunseekers and taking the money from the developers and those kind of things. Some of you are in the construction business and you know what it costs to put up a housing development and all the infrastructure that should be going in place. But we have a building going up there with Sunseekers. What about the parking? You guys looked the other way on the group that suggested here's what we do, and there was now a parking problem that's developing with Sunseekers that is forefront, which is going to cause some other problems. I think a lot of foresight needs to go into some of these decisions relative to the tax dollars. In closing, I just ask that you would not raise the taxes on the people anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person. Ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and move halfway up the aisle so we can move this along, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be here till midnight, seriously. That's not a joke. That's a statement of fact. Go ahead, sir.
I filled out a card number 66.
Thank you.
My name's Bob Thompson. I'm in Deep Creek. And I saw in the agenda that we're going for the vacant lot coverage for the fire department. Is there any consideration given to vacant lots that are completely undeveloped versus lots that are cultivated, maintained, just don't have a house on them? That's my big question, because I would imagine that a lot that is totally overgrown is more of a fire hazard than something that has grass on it and a few cultivated trees and is well maintained. So that's my big thing. And I don't want to see any tax increases, just like everybody else has said previous to me. No need to repeat that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
David Carmier, I'm from Deep Creek also, and I'm probably heard of all these things from other people already, but I was really questioning where the impact fees went that the builders have. We've had probably over 100 houses put up in Deep Creek, and I had the same question on the fire as I did on the sidewalks. Where are the impact fees going? And also, we pay a 1% extra on the sales tax. I thought that was supposed to help with some of these problems. That's pretty much the questions I had. Does anybody have an answer on it?
We can't answer it this time. I just would ask if you had filled out a card.
I did, yes. David Carmier, C-O-R-M-I-E-R.
You remember the number?
I didn't see a number on it.
Thank you.
They just gave me the card and said, fill it out.
Was it white or gray?
They were both white.
Thank you. That cuts my stack down in half.
I believe they were white anyway.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Charles McCollum. It's probably Chad McCollum on a white card.
Yes, sir.
Harbor Heights. Well, my name's Chad McCollum. I'm the elected representative of the local firefighters union. I represent 266 uniformed men and women of Charlotte County Fire and EMS. I'm here to speak in favor of the increase to the fire assessment. The men and women of Charlotte County Fire and EMS are here for each and every one of you in this room. When you call, we respond. Our desire to serve and dedication to our craft are represented every time you call. We were there for you during the COVID-19 pandemic. We were there for you during and after Hurricane Ian, and I assure you we will continue to be there for you. But folks, we are stretched thin. The dedicated men and women of Charlotte County Fire and EMS are sacrificing for each of you extra shifts, increased call volumes, increased emotional and physical stresses. These things all add up. We need the resources to respond to these changes. That means ambulances, fire trucks, and men and women to staff them. This board, this administration, Chief Fair, they all recognize this. They've created a plan that is fiscally responsible and flexible. On behalf of the 266 uniformed men and women of Charlotte County Fire and EMS, thank you for providing this community with the best fire and EMS services. I yield the remainder of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioners, my name is Sharon Pinio. I live in Harbor Heights, and you called my name, so you must have my card.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm missing Commissioner Tiseo because he seems to have gone.
He's here. He's still listening.
Oh, is he? Because his picture is gone. There you are.
He didn't go anywhere. We're just...
I specifically wanted to thank you for doing the math that you did. And you helped make me feel like I was on a used car lot, because the actual cost of what's needed is different from the figures that you cited to us tonight. So I think everyone understands what I'm saying here, that the actual figures cited are not necessarily what we can get down to. So thank you. Also, a couple things I'm going to repeat, but I think they bear repeating. And one of those is the hearing notice. I too had a problem when reading the hearing notice. But my first problem was where it says this is not a bill. Well, let me tell you, this feels very much like a bill. And the other thing was that I listened as carefully as I could tonight, and I heard the main reasoning spoken for this increase was response time, to shorten response time. And I also heard that there was a 90-second federal standard set for response times, if I was correct, and that we're 2 minutes plus. But the thing is, when was the last time you really thought that a federal standard was realistic? This is what I'm asking. And so I'd like to know in other communities what the comparative response times are. The other thing, and the thing I wanted to talk about when I first came in, was that, commissioners, when there's going to be something that's going to impact the public, the citizens that you represent, I would like better prior notice. Now, you had the study and you had a workshop, and none of that I know of. Maybe I'm living in Wonderland, but none of that I know of was published to the people. But was that publishing something that we, like, was it a notice? Was it a notice like this? Was it a paper notice? Or was it just something that was on your website and we must visit your website all the time to know what's going on or come to the meetings? So, you know, the rationale, the understanding, and the input would feel a lot more that you really wanted to know what we feel if we had been part of the process coming along. It would have been very helpful. And the other thing I want to reiterate is that, yes, well, I'm going to give it a little bit different take. How much of the fire pressure, the pressure on the fire departments is going to come from workforce development, housing, and more apartments being put up? Where exactly is this pressure coming from on the fire departments? Is it single-family homes? Is it big businesses coming in? Is it from sun seekers? Or is it from these apartment houses? How does that impact what the fire department needs? I've been an active proponent, even sacrificially, of police and fire for the last few years. And I thank them for what they need to do. But this sounds like we have a management problem, that we need to be able, that people need to be able to look at this in a better way, come up with a better plan, and just not throw dollars at every problem. Because we, the people, can't afford it. We're in a fluctuating environment in this country. And to make prognosis, how can we, any of us, plan what's coming down the pike with all of the impacts that we're facing? And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Dennis Clark. I live in Punta Gorda. I didn't have a number on my card. They just told me to fill it out.
White or gray?
White.
Thank you.
I'm 100% totally and permanently disabled Vietnam vet. And I want you to know that as tax exempt, I keep getting these until I was 100%, awarded 100%. I totally supported all the firemen, the police, everything. But now I'm on a fixed income and I can't be as free with my money. These are all taxes, and every year they just keep going higher and higher on my ad valorem. I'm tax exempt on my home, but they need to find some way to maybe cut down on the ad valorem taxes on the 100% total and permanent also. And I also would like to say that I agree 100% with what they're saying. I know they need it, but here you turn around and you give sun seekers, you didn't even hit them with an impact fee. You just let them go there. You know that there's going to be a lot of money involved bringing that in. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for your time, and I guarantee you, you're not going to see everybody tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mark Sawaran, white card, no number. Thank you, commissioners, for listening to the people. I have several comments that not quite sure which way to start this. First of all, you know, in a public hearing, we're supposed to be able to hear from the beginning to the end, and we're not able to do that tonight. The internet was intermittent, so even if you tried to hook up to the phone out there, there was a lot of constraints tonight. You got a lot of people come here. I understand that. I think you need to take that into consideration as far as tabling this item. This needs to be restudied. People have brought up, you know, all kinds of things from, you know, impact fees to, you know, equipment needs to personnel. I don't think anybody really doubts that the fire department is sincere and their personnel, you know, needs to be, you know, upgraded because there are more people here. But we're just off of a hurricane. Some people have not recovered from that at all. They're still not in a home or even a temporary home. We've got the food prices have gone up 3 times since 18 months ago. We have insurances that are exiting Florida, and the rest of the insurance companies have raised 46%. in our particular area, we have to maintain the roads for the fire department and EMS to get there. Our costs have gone up to maintain the roads as well. Nobody here has gotten away with a reduced cost for anything. Again, I think you should need to table this. It's not appropriate right now. And again, there's no disrespect to the fire EMS people. They do a fabulous job. I realize that there have been an influx of people that have come in here. But I don't think this is the time to do this rate increase, not with all the other increases and the hurricane recoveries and everything that we're going through at this point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Anna Kubinik. I live on 2909 Rock Creek Drive. Just so you know, my background is a CPA. I've been auditing school districts, counties, towns, villages for 30 years, and not-for-profits also, and everything else under the sun. I'm a diplomat with the Board of American Forensic Accountants, and I also headed the Government Affairs Committee for Sullivan County. The reason I'm telling you this is because I think what has happened here is very non-transparent. I tried to get information related to the financial records for the county as well as for the financial department, the financial district, and although it was asked for late, it was only because I only got the notice late. The notice was dated this June 17th, and I asked for the information last Friday, and I was not able to ascertain that information. I even asked if I could come down and pick it up. I was not able to get that. Anyway, so here's my problem. I sat on my school board for 5 years. I was president of my school board for the last year I sat on it. The reason I ran for the board and gave up doing the work for the school audit was simply because they were spending money left and right, and they did not know how to spend the money or could read the financial statements. So I ran for the school board, I sat on it for 5 years, and I was president of the school board the last year I lived up in New York. And I got them to rein in the budget. This is not just you can spend everybody else's money because it's not your money. It's everybody's money that you represent. And every constituent that you represent is paying for every dollar that you spend. So what you need to do is you need to look at your budget and get those numbers in balance and have somebody actually audit those numbers that knows what they're looking at. Once I get those financial statements, I will be looking at them very carefully. But a 25% increase to ask these people who have just suffered through Hurricane Ian, including myself, to give them a 25% increase when they're facing property tax increases and astronomical insurance increases, on top of that is a huge increase in 1 year. What I would suggest that you do is you take that increase and spread that out further. Instead of doing 25% in 1 year, you spread it out over 7 years or longer, but spread it out. You have enough fund balance in that fire district fund balance to cover your increases. The biggest increase I see is your capital portion of your budget, which is going from $844,000 to $2.3 million. I'm not quite sure what exactly that entails, and I don't have the answers to those questions at this point, but I will get them. So what I'm asking you to consider is not doing a whole 25% increase to this community all at once. Spread it out. These people are, many of these people are on fixed incomes, including myself. We're on fixed incomes. You can't expect them to get hit with a 25% increase in 1 year. That's crazy. And that's why I ran for my school board, because they were going crazy spending money and increasing our school budget like insane. And it just drove me nuts. I gave up getting paid for their services to do their audit so I could get them to rein in their expenditures. That's what you need to do. That's at least what my recommendation is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Deborah Bullard. I filled out a gray card. I live at 13156 Pace Circle, which is in the South Gulf Cove development. My concern is not so much the increase. I think it should be way lower than it is, but I'm concerned about what the fire department is currently doing for my community. I live on Pace Circle, which intersects Agate. We have a fire hydrant that is on that lot across the street from me. I've lived here since 2014 and have never ever seen that fire hydrant, tested. I've never seen anybody come out and maintain it. We don't know who's supposed to maintain it. My husband goes out there and mows the grass so that if there were a fire at one of my neighbors' homes, the fire department could find that fire hydrant. We sent from the South Gulf Cove HOA a letter to the fire chief asking about additional fire hydrants in South Gulf Cove. As you know, we have had an increase in the number of homes built in there, and many of our membership do not believe we have the number of fire hydrants that would be able to protect their homes if we had a fire. In February of this year, we had Mr. Dunn who came and spoke to us, and when it was brought up about our concerns about the lack of fire hydrants, we were told that Charlotte County now has a 36,000-gallon truck to pump water where needed. My question is, would that handle any fire that occurred in South Gulf Cove? Somebody else mentioned the standard of cover and minimizing disaster impact. Where did all the money the county received from the government for Hurricane Ian go? Why are we not raising impact fees for the ridiculous amount of housing you're approving? This county doesn't have the infrastructure to take care of what we currently have. Seems to me there's a whole lot of money that we don't know where it's going to. If I have to live within a budget, why shouldn't any department in this county have to do the same? Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Next speaker.
My name is Robert Podgorski. I'm from Port Charlotte. I'm on a white slip. I love history, okay? And one of the things I was doing was some research here on history. And so I decided to look up the average wages during the Great Depression. In doing so, then what I did is I took them wages and punched them into an inflation calculator. And I came up with a number for 1939, the average wages, when you hit it into an inflation calculator, is around $30,000, average wages. Then I was curious. I said, I wonder what the average wages in Port Charlotte right now. So I went ahead and I punched that in here as well. And right now, the average wages in Port Charlotte is at $28,000 a year. We are at $2,000 a year below average of what we considered the worst economic time in history. And now you want more from us. I too am on a budget. That's all I got. I only got so much money. And I've heard, well, maybe I should have made better choices in my life. Maybe I should have been a doctor. Maybe I should have been an attorney. But instead, I chose to serve the U.S. military. And now I'm disabled. So I can't be a doctor. I can't be an attorney. Port Charlotte is all I have, and you're running me out. Where do I go next? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir?
Jim Goki, I was on grade card number 17.
Thank you.
And thank you all. I mean, I agree with a lot of things I've heard tonight, especially being overtaxed. I live down on a little undeveloped county right-of-way down on View Drive is the access road to my little street, which is Balboa Court. I've been there 4 years now. All the residents have maintained that road and built that road. We have nothing from the county. We have a Charlotte Harbor water, nothing, absolutely nothing from the county. I've contacted the county multiple times about trying to get a road paved, and they direct me to an MSBU, which I don't believe I'm included in now, but I'm getting taxed for one. I mean, I pay my ad valorem taxes for millage and all that, and I understand that's for the rest of the community, not just my area. My biggest problem right now is all the permitting that the county is letting for housing and all the money they're collecting for that. Nobody's holding anybody accountable. And there's been multiple times coming down my road, I cannot get home or get out because of all the contractors, material, trucks, and all the activity going on left unmonitored and unaccountable. So you talk about response time, what happens when you can't get to my house? I mean, what am I supposed to do then, you know? And I don't mind paying my fair share, but it seems my fair share of taxes I've been charged are not, none of it's going towards my area. And I mean, now you want more. I mean, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. And I believe about getting taxed out of here, you know, it's getting more and more, every year it's getting more and more to live here, and it's just gotten scary. The rest of the stuff you guys pretty much covered. You know, there's a lot of stuff in that area. We're like the ranchettes, you know, no, the county doesn't do anything for us. They keep telling it's our issue. And when we try to correct our issue, they come along and tear it up with all the contracting work they're letting go on, and then they don't want to be accountable, you know. I've come home and the road's blocked. I call up the county, they say call the police. Call the police, they say call the county. I mean, it's past the buck. Nobody wants to take accountability, but they want to rake in the money, and it's I don't think it's right. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and take up a lot of your time. I was expecting to be getting to talk a lot earlier. But everything everybody said here tonight is pretty well on the money, you know, most of it. So I think you should table this as well. I think you should wait and get some better facts and show how this money is being spent a little bit, or be more efficient with the money that you're spending. I mean, the best way to save money is not spend money. You know, that's the best way to save money is quit spending money. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next person, please.
So I'm Perry Gross, live in Port Charlotte, number 47.
Thank you.
Seems to me a big issue on the sheet that y'all sent out is this response time that we heard about. But I'm looking at a firehouse that was abandoned because of damage over on Collinswood, right by the intersection of Collinswood and Murdoch Circle / Toledo Blade. So y'all built a new fire station on the other side of 41, which takes the fire station further away from the main concentration of where the people are. So I don't understand that move. And then what are we doing with the building that's sitting there? Has it been sold? Can it be refurbished? Can it be used for another issue? What's going on with that? I own 2 properties in Charlotte County. My wife and I moved down here. We worked hard all our lives. I still work. I've got 8 more years to go. And it's a struggle. My wife is has issues, and she's just disabled. She worked 35 years of her life. And these increases that y'all are coming up with, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, because I did dump truck service work for 6 years, and the houses that are going up and how fast they're going up in this county is astronomical. You're getting $8,000 per household that gets built in this county. Where's all that money going? On top of that, once that house is built, you've got the $8,000 for the impact fee, and then on top of that, you're collecting revenue from those houses on a yearly basis also. Where's that money going? Why is there such a shortage when the revenue goes up as the houses are being built? Where's the money going? This shouldn't be an issue. This should be we grow, we have more residents, you collect more income from the residents, and that should cover the growth of what's going on with the fire department and so forth. I don't understand where the money's going. The lady that was up here earlier that said she was asking questions, I gave her my phone number so she can contact me when she gets that information. Because the next time you guys have a hearing and we come down here, she probably won't be able to get it all out in 5 minutes. So I will be here and be on her side to back up what she can't cover, to ask the questions that need to be answered. The other thing is you've got so many people out in that hallway. You sent out this issue of you're having all these meetings and all these different things. Half the people out there don't even know what's going on. They can't hear nothing. This was not very well set up. If you're going to send out that many notices, you can expect people to be here. So you should make sure that the people that show up that can't fit in this room can hear what's going on out there in the other rooms, and they can't. And that is wrong. And it's not to be tolerated, because you work for us, we don't work for you. That's all I have to say. I yield.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Bill Ferris. I think I might have a gray card. I want to address just what the gentleman said here. Back in '05, you guys, maybe not this board, held a public hearing that packed. They were out in the street. And at least the board members at that point had enough wherewithal to postpone it and get a venue to hold people. Because there's two words, public and hearing. Three-quarters of the public didn't hear anything. You guys are spending our money. We want to know what's going on and why. I have been a taxpayer and resident of this county going on 40 years. I have worked for multiple contractors. I spent 17 years with the school district. I have recently had to retire to stay home and take care of my veteran 88-year-old dad and his wife. I'm on a fixed income. You guys have got to get your fiscal house in order. Something is going on here that just isn't right. When I hear, and watching on my phone, because I couldn't hear it anywhere else, I'm hearing that all these people are making all these exorbitant amounts of money. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. It's just, you've got a retirement community here. It's going to be hard enough now. Can't find insurance? Yeah, I just found out, yeah, I'm getting canceled. I can't get insurance now. And you've got all this infrastructure coming. Sunseeker, where are you going to get the people to put them in there? Where are you going to house them? You know, something has got to be done. Fiscal responsibility is number one. You guys sitting up there have two jobs. Maintain infrastructure and keep the taxpayer happy. And right now, the taxpayer ain't happy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Honorable Commissioners, my name is Robert Bino. I did fill out a card. You should have it up there. Excuse me. I live at 50300 Vermont Road, 8 miles east of Route 31. I'm here to object to the 25% increase in fire assessment. And I'll give some examples of the area that I live in. I live in the Golden Acres unrecorded subdivision. The access off of Vermont is all dirt roads, but there are 3 good accesses into that area. There were 3, or maybe more than that, but less than 10 instances in the last few months of 911 calls where the responders had to call the patient for better directions on to get to their residence to administer the first aid that they were requesting. And in my opinion, if the responders don't know the area good enough, then their response is inadequate. And in my view, if they should have a precise outline of this area that they service. And in these instances, it was apparent that they did not have a precise understanding of where these patients lived. The area that I described in which I live, there are less than 20 families there permanent residents. And for the responders not to know precisely which of those residents were requesting their services, to me, is inexcusable. So therefore, I reassert my objection to the 25% increase in the assessment for fire and EMT. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Floyd Cooper. I filled out a gray card. I work at Publix. I've been there almost 30 years. You guys told Publix that they couldn't build a distribution center in Charlotte County. They had the land and everything ready to go. You guys say, oh no, we don't want it. So they took off and built it somewhere else. Now you guys want more money. And you talk about response time. They took 9 minutes to get to my mom. Then they got her in the fire truck. It took them another 30 minutes to even go to the hospital. And she died that day. And I have to live with this, and no one wants to take responsibility. And I'm getting ready to move out of here. I've been here all my life. This town is going downhill real quick. I need, it's hard for me to do this. That's all I know all my life. And everybody I talk to, they moving out of state. They can't pay no more money. I'm the only one working in my house. Now I gotta come up with another 25%. I only make $19 an hour. What you want me to do? Come on. You guys want to make $19? Okay, I work hard every day for that $19. And I held myself responsibility for whatever I do. I mean, it's crazy. Come on, man. You guys come in my shoes and walk in my shoes every day. I don't know what else to do. I try to get an attorney to help me. They won't even touch the case. And I'm really upset with the EMS. They don't need no more money. They got enough. Leave them come to my job and work $19 an hour and do what they do. I see them come in. They came in my house a bunch of times with the stretcher. And now, no, we can't do it. We're going by protocol. What is protocol? Come on. My heart hurts every day. Every single day. I can't come and see my mom. I got to go to the cemetery. You guys can do it now. I want some answers. And I wrote to some county commissioner, and they ain't even got back with me. I tried to talk to the chiefs. They don't want to talk to me. So I don't know what to do. I really want to move out of here, but that's all I know. You guys need help, people. You guys make a lot more money than $19. Come on. Go out there and do something. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry for your loss.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening. Can you pull the microphone down a little bit? Thank you.
My name is Kim Ferguson. I filled out a white card.
Thank you, ma'am.
I also filed objections, written objections that I hand-delivered to the Commission office. Before I get into my case, I want to speak for the 85 people that were in the corner because I told them I would. The 85 people that are in the corner, they're voting no to the 25%. I'm one of them. We vote 25% decrease in the fireman's salary. The fire department needs to do a better job of allocating the funds they already have now. I'm not going to go into all of us are on a fixed income. We are. We're all seniors. I'm being charged per acre. Most of my acreage is underwater, but I'm still paying for fire services. Imagine that. So I'm not only getting charged per acre, I'm getting charged per acre that my house sits on. So I'm paying double taxes just for that 1 acre. I live out in Washington Loop Road, 37471 Washington Loop Road. They allow 1 house per 10 acres. So the 9 acres is worthless, but yet I'm paying taxes on it. Why is that? I ask, there's many people here, I keep hearing that you're going to have more public hearings. I disagree. I ask the commissioners that this be completely tabled. Nobody can afford this right now. My biggest problem is I feel that you're subverting our homestead exemption rights under the Florida law. You keep raising and raising and raising. You can't. 3%, that's it. I don't know how many people here realize that. It's wrong. But the fire department needs to cut their budget, not ask we the people for more money. I ask that this commission say no to any increase. Thank you.
Next speaker. Mr. Galen?
Yes.
No, next one. Thank you.
Dave Kalen, gray card, 30s number, I believe.
Gotcha.
All right. Dave Kalen, 6125 Allen Boulevard, Punta Gorda, Charlotte Ranchettes. December 16th, 1773. That's the date when the people that lived here in North America, because we were not a nation yet, said, enough of you people. And we had the Boston Tea Party because we were taxed enough already. We seem to keep forgetting this, that the reason this nation started just 2.5 years later was because of the taxation problems that were going on in England. Here in Charlotte County, living in the Charlotte Ranchettes, running a nice little farm out there, our community was abandoned in 2021 by means of an order of this board, disbanding our MSBU, which maintained our roads and our drainage. All while violating Statute 298 for our stormwater management. It continues to get worse and worse throughout that area of the county, yet with no avail. At the same time, code enforcement seemed to ramp up in our community and continues to this day. So while your county employees on line 1 of your disbanding of our MSBU were scared of the people out there, apparently your code enforcement is not, and are above the harassment of the residents of the ranchettes. We pay the same services as everybody else in this county, but the Charlotte Ranchettes receives none of it. I would like to publicly thank this board for the work you did on Vermont Road. It took many years to get you guys to make that change. The residents are finally feeling a breath of fresh air on that. It was a very inexpensive move to make it safe. Again, goes into public safety here with our fire department. You look at this rate increase, it's not going to go unnoticed. You have renters are going to be paying this bill, not the landlord. Most renters can't afford the home or are unable to maintain a home or choose not to own that home, but the rent keeps going up. We're losing residents almost as fast as we're getting residents because they can't afford to live here anymore. My daughter just left the state yesterday. She was a prized baker, #1 champ in the state of Florida, top of the heap at Publix. She can't afford to live here. She moved back to the communist state of Pennsylvania. I've looked at many of the commissioners' properties that you hold, as well as your holdings, and I'm almost appalled to say that Some of you have your houses, your tax rate is cheaper than a Buick. A 30-year-old Buick at that. Some of you, your tax rates on your house are well over $500,000, pushing on $750,000, but your tax rate is a mere $230,000 a year. I'm not suggesting there's a two-tiered tax system, but why am I in a manufactured home paying a higher tax rate than some of you living in near $1-million homes? You're asking us for more money. Oh, wait, no, you're not. You're just going to take it. An assessment here, a tax increase there. The next thing you know, you're New York or Chicago with your tax rate. We're quickly approaching that. I know. I left the Philadelphia area. I came here in 2015 to escape the tax rates that were going on that state. I've sat where you gentlemen sit. I was a commissioner in that state. We reduced our taxes in my community where we could handle them. Couldn't do anything about the rest of the school boards, the rest of the county, but we handled what we had. We got our financial house in order. This government in Charlotte County, I've line itemed your budget. You're bloated, you're out of control, you continue to spend without any regard to where you're getting that money from or how much we have to give. I think maybe you're going to need me to get a pocket knife so I can cut myself so you can get just one more drop of blood. I've watched many of my friends and acquaintances leave Charlotte County because they can't afford to live here. Don't get me wrong, I support first responders. I'm a farmer. I can't afford your taxes, and I feed you. Think about it.
Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Rollins Kinnear. I'm a retired teacher and a Navy widow. My husband spent 26 years in the Navy. One of the things that I was proudest of him for was he was asked in 1985 to take a $126 million budget for running a major base in Southern California, and he cut it by 26 million because he found in dealing with each item, it was possible. And I believe you all can do the same thing. I am a descendant of one of 9 men in New Hampshire who in 1681 chose to fight a 2% income tax. There is no excuse when we have got up 46% in insurance, 22% in food, 25% for FPL, and you now want another 25%? How are we supposed to find this money? I don't know about you, but I'm too fat to pole dance. And I'm a retired teacher, so I'm not stupid. I taught computers at a college. So gentlemen, I strongly recommend you sharpen your pencils and you find a way to find the money from the big businesses that are coming in, from the number of gas stations that I see going up on the corners, including things like car washes, etc., and increase your impact fees if that's what's necessary. But sharpen your pencils, sir, because you don't realize we'll have another tax revolution. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, next speaker, please.
My name is Phyllis Benincasa. I'm Port Charlotte. I'm on Peachland Boulevard. I'll make it brief. I think the crowd that was here today speaks in volume. Nobody's happy. I've been to meetings here before. I've never seen such a crowd before. They was spilling out into the parking lot. So I think you pretty much understand how everybody feels. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Howdy, guys. My name is Sheila Palmore, and I live at 33033 Oil Well Road. I am the closest house to the Charlotte Correctional Institution, so I know how often the fire trucks and the ambulances go by. because they're there twice, 2 or 3 times a week. I do not have a problem with them getting a raise. What I do have a problem with is it's 25%. We can't afford it. That gentleman over there, when you started this meeting, he said that we have a bunch of construction starting in this county and development. Why in the devil aren't you thinking about, oh, let's put an assessment fee on these and not do our people? These people are still putting their houses back together, dealing with insurance. And you've heard this over and over. And if you should push this through and push this on all of us, I hope you can all afford a jar of Vaseline for all of us. So we would really like it if you didn't do it.
That is not respectable to do that in this.
I just said Vaseline. I didn't say where to put it.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Brandy Larson. I filled out a gray card. I live on DeVille Street, which is Harbor Veterans Peachland area. I'm asking you guys to reject this increase in raises or increase in taxes, not just for me. I mean, I can go out to get a second job to cover my increase in taxes, my increase in insurance, and every other increase that I have. I'm young enough. I'm asking you to do it for my 60-some-year-old parents, my 92-year-old grandmother, who are on that fixed income. They can't go out and get a second job. My 70-year-old neighbor who's already working because she lost her husband 2 years ago, so she has to work to pay her bills at her house. I'm asking you to do it for the people of the county that you guys have promised to help when we elected you. There's other ways that we can get taxes. There's other ways that we can collect this money. I grew up in this town. I went to Peace River Elementary, Port Charlotte Middle School, Port Charlotte High School, go Pirates. I've lived here all my life, and I've seen the growth. I've seen the stuff that's coming down the line. But it's getting to the point where my family can't stay here. My son moved home 2 years ago because he can't afford $2,400 for rent, a 2-bedroom house. My kid, my 20-year-old kid, she can't afford to live on her own. The families are already struggling. Parents like me are helping support our grown kids. My parents at 60-some years old are supporting grown kids and grandkids. We can't take it anymore. So I ask that you look at the businesses that have built. We have this beautiful multi-million-dollar resort that just came up. Can we increase hotel taxes? I'm asking you to do what you're asking the people to do, is find another way. Look at a different place to get the money. Whether it's that we increase the taxes to the businesses, bed tax, hotel tax, whatever it's called, or whether it's we add impact fees or something else, but there's gotta be another way, because this community, our people, we can't do it anymore. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ma'am, could you do me a favor, ma'am? Could you restate your name? I didn't find your card, I apologize.
I'm sorry, it's Brandy Larson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is David Grossman. I did fill out one of those gray cards.
Thank you.
And for the last 2+ hours, you gentlemen listened to the impassioned pleas and experiences of the residents and taxpayers, and more importantly, the voters of this county. It's been my experience, though, with politicians that they, while sympathetic to these experiences, their voting patterns may not necessarily coincide with their sympathies. So I'm not here to regale you with experiences or my heartfelt tales of what it is to try and work and try and pay taxes. What I am here to do, though, is go through how you spend those taxes and where you get that money from. Now, to give that some credibility, I'm a senior partner, I was a senior partner in a multi-state law firm, and I specialized in forensic examination. I've looked over your budgets, the published budgets, for the last 3 years for income, revenue streams, and expenditures. And what I'm finding is some interesting facts. And I'm referring to page 1 of the 2023 budget of the fiscal year for this year, And it looks like between fiscal year 2021 and fiscal year 2023, there was a $59 million increase in revenues. Okay? For a county this size, that's not terribly high. Okay? What I did see, though, was the ad valorem taxes increased $11 million. That was from fiscal year 2021 to fiscal year 2023. Now, that in and of itself is not particularly important. It's just a figure that we throw out. So when I listened to the fire chief earlier tell how he needed this money for these different things, I remember I looked into line item 232601, which has all the expenditures of the Charlotte County Fire Rescue, every one. And to the fire chief's credit, he is correct. There are increases, substantial increases in, let's see here, regular salaries and wages went up $500,000 just in 1 year to try and, no increase in personnel, the wages went up. Retirement contributions, they went up $500,000. Just for your retirees, you had to pay them. Life and health insurance for your current employees, that went up $200,000. Just in those three categories, they went up $1.2 million in 1 year. The only problem is there are 60 other categories. Everything from lawn maintenance, pest control, the sheriff's dispatcher expense, utility, electricity, utility, gas, water services, operating supplies general, clothing and uniforms, gas and oil lubricants for the vehicles, employee safety gear. And for all those remaining 60 line items, there wasn't one increase. They remained the same from fiscal year 2021-22 to fiscal year 22-23. In fact, the total expenditures for that department under that line item decreased from $38 million to $37 million. There was a decrease in the fire department's needs. Now, I'm not here to tell you that the fire department or anyone wearing a uniform doesn't deserve every penny. They deserve more, because now one person in this room will run to the sound of gunfire or will run into a burning building. You'll never do it unless you experienced it. I've done that. And it takes a special person to wear that uniform or run into a burning building. So they need the money. What we don't need is politicians that don't know how to get the money. That's the problem. So I looked at your income streams, your projected income streams of where this came in. And I specifically looked at the Allegiant properties, the terminal expansion in Punta Gorda and the Sunseeker Resort. I can't find the projected income streams from the additional revenues that you would anticipate from those areas and how it would impact on this projected budget. I can't reconcile a $39 million increase in fire rescue with the projected incomes that you should have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Joan Ellison. I did fill out a form, a white one. I'm here to represent my mom, who's 81 today, and my dad, who passed away. Sorry. I'm in Charlotte County twice. I left from a place, Texas, to come here to take care of my mom and my dad. My dad, in 2012, bought a 1 acre of land, and his whole goal was to build on it. With all the taxes that they kept raising, he didn't get a chance to do that, okay? I've tried to work around this, but bottom line is that where my mom used to live, I live now. And the taxes are so high, because I'm in Charlotte County twice now, and I live in Punta Gorda. The taxes where she's at the land is located at 18067 Hillsborough Boulevard. in Port Charlotte. I mean, in Port Charlotte, and the house in which she wants to put on it is in Punta Gorda, and it's still in Charlotte County. And they told us we couldn't do one to the other. I mean, I don't have nothing against the fire department. I don't have anything against y'all raising taxes. What I have is that they have so many rules and regulations that they can't even honor the elderly who have come here to retire by combining it. Because if they did combine it, then maybe I can help her. Because I have 2 jobs on top of being retired for 22 and a half years from Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, and I can't even help her because I'm trying to pay something for her not to lose her house in Punta Gorda so she can put the house where the land is, and they won't even let her combine them due to whatever reason they say is, I guess they don't want to lose the money. But she sits here at 81 and she already lost her husband. And it's not fair that y'all are raising it so much that she can't even build a shack on the land that she owns. And she can't move a house that she owns to the land that she owns. My dad died trying to get this. And the more y'all raise it, the harder it is for her. All she asked for is that y'all give her a break. I heard a lot of people talk about a lot of other stuff, about how the taxes are and everything else. I left a place of 15 acres in Texas to come down here. And what they're charging here for taxes, I could have 18 to 150 acres of land. And that's weird. But I left that because I love my mom and I'm honoring that. My dad told me before he died, he said, a person's word is their bond. And when when they vote you into office, they vote you into office to represent us. And at 81, she can't work. And I've heard a lot of other people say that they can't work and they can't get another job. I'm holding down 2 jobs to pay for the land that my dad bought in 2012 and to pay for a house on land that my mom bought cash out in Punta Gorda in 2016. And I can't even afford to help her build a house. If y'all keep raising taxes, I told myself, I'm gonna work until I could get it done, because before she dies, like my dad did, I would like her to one time live on the land that he sweat for, that he died trying to get, that all he wanted was to literally give to his wife of 7 kids who are all trying to work together. And out of 7 of us, we can't even afford to build a house on land that's only 1 acre. We can't even afford to cut down the trees. And they won't give me the opportunity to do that. So is it my kids are gonna live on that land? Or is it their kids? If y'all keep raising it, it's going to be their kids' kids is gonna live on that land. That's not right. And that's all I'm up here to say. Give us a chance to actually live out the American dream that you give foreigners to, that don't even literally pay taxes as much as we do. Thank you and God bless.
Ma'am. Next speaker, please.
My name's Stacy Rollerson. I filled out a white card.
Thank you, sir.
I want to kind of hit this from a different angle. I have these, I call it a carport. Y'all may call it, I know the property appraisers they call them porta-ports. It's just a little steel frame, little roof on it. Keep your boat, your car, out of the weather, because the stuff's expensive. So, well, I've got 3 of those. Then I've got a little 10 by 10 Ted shed, okay? And then there's an old building. I inherited a few acres from my father, so I'm fortunate for that. But he had a little building on it. So I'm getting hit 5 times for these 5, I don't know if you're gonna call them buildings or the property appraiser's office call them buildings. These are not buildings. It's a little roof. They're put up by 2 guys in 45 minutes, okay? And I can promise you, they're not raising the value of my property. If so, I'm gonna get a couple million and I'll sell it next week and I'll be gone. That's not gonna happen though. And I saw Paul Polk, our property appraiser, stand up here earlier tonight and say, we've gotta charge y'all for these buildings. These are not buildings. Now, the funniest part about it is they are 100% steel. They can't catch on fire. You can't catch them on fire. So why is this why are these little carports under the fire and rescue? I mean, if y'all have to just find ways to charge us, you know, I don't mind paying taxes. We're in America. You got to do it. But I feel like that's stealing from me. I will never, ever. Now, okay, look. If I was a rich person, I would build a big building, like my house, to put my boat and my trailers that I want to keep out of the weather. I'd put all that in there. I could understand that can catch on fire. I may need it. But for these little things, I don't know if y'all need to get with the property appraiser's office about these. I'm talking specifically about these porta ports. Something needs to be done, because I ride around town, I see them everywhere. But people, you know, are buying them because they can't afford to build a big garage to put their car in. You know, it's just, we want to keep our stuff out of the weather. But we can't get taxed. I can take this thing down and move it with me somewhere else if I want. I own property in North Florida, and I have one there. Taylor County does not charge me a dime for that thing. You know, they're a little bit more of a hillbilly type place than it is right here, but it's a beautiful place because of that. You know, I just, the Ted Shed, they told me if you have 100 square feet of roof, we're charging you no matter what. They told me this when I moved in there 5 years ago, and it was $156 for each one of these then. Hell, I didn't even know it went up to $203 or $4. Now you're going up again. But, you know, if y'all go up, these 5 buildings you're calling them are going to cost me $1,300 a year extra. And just so I can keep my boat out of the sun, you know, something needs to be done with those. Those are not buildings, and they're not increasing the value. And I'm going to go deal with the property appraiser's office with this stuff too. But think about that, you know. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
I'm Charles Adlington, 1486 Youngman. I'm in a gray, I think it's gray.
Gotcha. Number 15.
Yeah, they put the number on there after I signed it, so I didn't know
problem,
what
I
it
got
was.
you.
I came up here for the same reason a lot of people did. The one lady mentioned 10 acres, and they're charging her for each acre, and she only gets to put a house on one. I moved here in 2016, purchased a home on a quarter-acre lot, which is what most of them are around where I am. I live in a very rural and wooded area. I live along the Myakka River in the northwest portion of Port Charlotte. And it's very wooded. It's 10, 12-inch pines, a lot of them. The brush is about 10 foot tall everywhere. And we went through Irma, so me and the wife's looking at what happened during that, which wasn't very much damage to the house, but there was a lot of trees got blown over and stuff like that. So we decided we had brush within 10 feet of all sides of our home. So we thought, well, why don't we purchase these lots and we'll clear them and we'll get that fire issues pulled away from the house and the hurricane issues pulled away from the house. So we did in 2017 or 2018, I forget. We purchased the properties. I spent $30,000 clearing them, getting rid of the 10-inch pine trees. And it costs a lot of money when you can only get 3 root balls on one semi-truck. And cleared that all out to just grass and put some fill and put grass in there. And then I turned around and they told me that I can make it all one lot, one tax number, and I was good with that. But now I get this notice and you're still considering me having 3 lots under this MSUB or BU. I don't think that's right. I think I should be getting charged for one residential 3/4 acre lot. And I shouldn't be charged 25% on 3 different pieces of property. But again, I see other people's having the same issue here as that I am having. But other than that, today I learned a lot. I'm glad I came. The questions is actually on the taxes. I think you guys need to take a serious look at these. I know you got to have guys that are competent. in doing their jobs. So you got to pay salaries. It's just, you got no choice. So some of your higher officers in the fire department are making good money, it sounds like. It sounds like quite a bit more than some of the other departments. So I think you guys really need to look at that seriously. I think you got to hold them down. I noticed the one guy was fighting for the union members here tonight. I like that. I'm glad the guy stood up and he's fighting for you guys, but their union dues are based off their salaries that the guys make and how many guys that are employed by this county. So he wants more people because he gets more money for his union. So all of this stuff you guys need to look at and watch for us, because we're like $35 million. That's a lot of money in anybody's book. So you guys need to push back on this. I'm with some of the other people. I think 25% is way too much. I think that should be reduced maybe down to half or even less than that. And spread this out over the next 6 years instead of giving us 25% off the top and then another 6% for the next 6 years or whatever it is. So that's what I've got to say tonight.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next speaker.
I
got you.
Oh, okay. Susan Hutt. Been here a long time tonight. Hello to you all. I had hoped the next meeting I would attend would be to say something nice. I should have known things were too quiet and that something was coming. You all want more money from us. And you haven't seen me at a meeting in a very long time. Haven't we had to put up enough money into our properties since the hurricane? Isn't it enough? We have old MSBUs that are still paying for, in the Ackerman area, the sewers. That's my personal gripe. Others who are present and those who are not present have their own gripes and problems. I hope all of the people here tonight who speak and who have spoken will enumerate all the losses they have had during the pandemic and during and after the hurricane. It's great that the government has a bottomless source of money. Whenever you decide you need more of it for projects, you just vote for more money and get in our pockets. We all have financial needs too. Now we have more needs than we did before Ian hit. Cleanup of hurricane debris from our properties and all over our neighborhoods. All cleanup is not finished yet. Replacing lost, damaged landscaping and yard ornaments. Replacing pool cages, roofs, windows, doors, interior water damage, the list goes on. Now you're throwing this tax increase as a surprise for all of us. And that's not to mention the other ones that are on the list that we're not talking about tonight. We're still trying to get our homes, yards, and finances reestablished. Back to normal, maybe. Those with school-age children have added expenses of back to school coming up. Vacations, how many people were able to get a vacation this summer on top of the high gas prices now? Now you want more money from us. Is this increase so important that it can't wait a few years? Could you delay this long enough or split projects up and not do everything all at once? Help us recoup our material and financial losses from the hurricane? It's great that the government, you all, have a bottomless source for your money to spend with our money. Whenever you decide you need more bucks for more projects, you just create an MSBU and the money will come. You all vote yes together. When will other hearings be held for the other issues? I don't expect an answer right now. I'll figure it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, gentlemen. Kathleen Coppola here, speaking as taxpayer and resident since 1977. Been here a long time, saw a lot of changes. First of all, I just want to say I endorse every word spoken by Joan Fisher, who was here earlier tonight. Magnificent talk she gave. And I'm here tonight in this public meeting because I am disappointed that hordes of people Your citizens had to wait outside. They couldn't come in here. You should have held it in a bigger place where we could have all enjoyed everything that was going on, or maybe not enjoyed was not the proper word. Everything Susan said, I confirm. And you cannot go on asking for more and more money, especially after the ravages of the hurricane, which we all felt. And it was immediate and it was scary. It hit us very early in the season, and we're not even through with the season. We're just beginning the season. What's going to happen next? Only the good Lord knows. We, the people, are not a bottomless pit of money. We have our limits. So now it's your time to re-examine your agendas and consider your constituents. And thank you for listening, and I hope you will do that.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Next speaker.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Eliza Saintville. I'm on 14387 Canal Lane, Port Charlotte, Florida.
What was your name again, sir? Sorry.
Eliza Saintville.
I'm trying to find your card. Keep going. That's okay.
Yeah. I would like to tell you that every year I'm in Port Charlotte, they keep increase the rate on us. But this time, I don't think it's appropriate. After all those mess this year, I don't think it's the time. And I don't think anybody in Port Charlotte will be able to pay this. Like me, I work a long time. And I never take a vacation in my life. I think I could prepare for this situation I am right now, for retirement, to get a better retirement. But it wasn't that case. I got 2 bipolar kids. I cannot get help with them. I do my best. Sometimes I don't know where I am, if I am in the sky or if I am on earth. And I am the one who helped them. Me and my wife, we own 3 houses. We cannot, we got 2. We cannot go to them because they did not allow us to go there. They destroyed the house on my course. You think I could find money again to pay even 1 dime of taxes? That's no good. Some people could, maybe. But for me, I can't. I can't. Me and my wife, we discussed, we can't even stay here because the taxes is too much for us. Please, do us a favor. Take that off us, please. I beg. Because we cannot afford it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Tammy Kalin, Allen Boulevard, Punta Gorda. The amount of people who have shown up for this meeting to speak sends a clear message to this board that they are not acting in our best interest, and they need to reevaluate the county's budget. No one will argue the value or the importance of our emergency services and the life-saving services they provide to our citizens. But we must discuss this board's history of spending freely and frivolously. Instead of looking to balance budgets or cut other non-essential areas in budgets, It is always the same answer: raise taxes. Many Charlotte County residents suffered great losses due to the hurricane and are still trying to recover in an economy with out-of-control inflation. Many are in a place where the struggle is real just to pay the bills. My family owned a small 10-acre farm in the Charlotte Ranchette, an agricultural community this board abandoned, but still continues to collect impact fees and sends out code enforcement. My community doesn't even have fire hydrants. In addition, my tax was about $250 per year. With the additional vacant lots included, this will increase my tax 400%, up to $1,000. May not seem like a lot of money to you, but a farmer, it can kill or break you in a season. I asked this board, who has the authority, to include an exemption for the farmers in Charlotte County. Any farmer, small or large, is facing a 300 to 500% increase in one single tax assessment, and it is expected to carry the burden of a county. It is unfair and will force many of us to shut down and leave. There's another part of this that many people don't know. Code enforcement has been weaponized against the farmers in Charlotte County. They have, on a daily basis, harassed, intimidated, used fines, illegally trespassed onto property, and entered buildings. They used the local court system, and they shut down the farmers, despite the farmers being fully licensed through the local, state, and federal level, while the county violates state statutes and laws. And while the appearance may not be proof enough, when a code enforcement officer admitted to a farmer recently, if they can shut down one farm, it will set a precedent to shut down the rest of us. That's weaponization of an agency. I moved from the corrupt blue state of PA in 2015 because of taxes. I lost my home I worked for. My taxes were $21,000 a year. And now I am facing a similar scenario in Charlotte County. My farm, my home, and my family's life is on the line because the taxes just keep going up and up and up. I've reached my breaking point, and many others are too. I am done with a system that will take everything from hardworking Americans and in Charlotte County an agenda to shut down farmers, leaving us with nothing. A 400% increase in one single tax assessment is criminal, and it's disgusting. While the rest of us are still recovering from a Category 5 hurricane and a collapsing economy, we the people have had enough. Do your job. Stop taxing us out of our homes.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Phil Lemke. I live in the Fruit Streets on Sunkist. And what really got my goat on this thing was the way you brought it on. You know, I mean, hold on a second here. The fire risk changed due to climate. I've been here almost 40 years and I haven't seen any change really in climate. Urbanization, is that forced urbanization? And the vegetation shifts, what is that? You guys even know? Who wrote this up for you? It's silly. It's just so silly. I mean, I'm getting charged on one vacant lot, and then where my house is. I got like almost 4 acres, and it's all my yard. It's not an empty lot with trees all over. I mean, it's got some trees on it, but you know, it's all cleared. It's all cut. I even cut out by the road. Why should I? I'm getting charged to have it done. That's 400 feet. I just got done paying, when was that? 10 years of added tax to get our roads done. That was like $6,000 to $8,000. I don't remember, but I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. People cannot afford this. We're not all wealthy people. We should be, but we're not. I live paycheck to paycheck. I don't have a savings account. And there's a lot of people like me. Tons of them out there. Thousands and thousands of them in this county that are going to get totally hurt by this and other taxes. If you guys really want to, if you really want to be liked, maybe you should start lowering taxes, finding ways to do that. It'd probably be easier to lower a tax, figure out a way to lower the tax, than it would be to raise it. And look at all these people here tonight. There was quite a few. We need a break. We all need a break. Do you guys get hit with these taxes too? I'm sure. But, you know, that's a lot of money. I know we need, you know, fire and stuff like that, but, you know, I haven't really seen a fire lately in my area. I think there was one last year, but it was probably arson. Or, you know, where they're building the new development over there by Tucker's Grade there. You know, they burned all that. They burned it all. We got smoked out quite a bit over there. I don't mind it. I love the smell of wood. I love to camp. You know, but, you know, and I can't even have a little campfire in the backyard or even burn some brush when it's wet out. You know, the fire department will show up. You know, it happened to me once, but it hasn't happened lately or anything like that. But still, you know, we've had enough. We need a break. And with everything going on in the world, I hope you guys can understand that. I mean, open up your eyes and see, unless you already know. If you already know what's up, then, you know, have a heart. Have a heart for us, you know, everybody else in, you know, this county. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
How you doing? My name is Tom Ryder. You probably got a card there. It may have
Yes,
some
sir.
stuff written on it, but
I've
I filled
seen
it out. It seems like 3 weeks ago, so I probably forgotten everything that I wrote down, other than the end. I think it says "and more," so I covered my bases. That way, I can say "and more." I'm really here. I'm retired. I am on a fixed income. Everybody, you've heard it 1,000 times. Unfortunately, because of the venue, probably you've heard it 1,000,000 times. I don't know, because I couldn't hear half the speakers that were here tonight because of where everybody was catered to. So anyhow, the reason I'm really here is to say that we don't have the system that is equal for everybody. That's probably what starts this ball rolling and why it is the way it is. I'm on a fixed income. I saved for my retirement. I ended up having to spend my retirement on one of my daughters when she developed a PTSD because she was in a car and driving through an intersection and was broadsided by a driver that didn't have any insurance or a license and killed her fiance. And in the process, I had to buy a place for her to stay, and that's part of what I'm paying for now. But that's my retirement. It's gone. I'm managing by, but we're not going to manage by the way we're managing things. We've got to change the way we're managing things. I really don't want to say any more because you probably heard it all before, and there's no sense in boring you all to hear the same thing. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Christine Carlemany, white card number 86.
Thank you.
I live in Gulf Cove. I moved here in 2005 from Orlando, where there were no MSBUs, which I believe are illegal. And how can other counties in the state of Florida have lower taxes with no MSBUs, and we can't? It doesn't make any sense to me. We're all dealing with the Hurricane Ian damages, phenomenal insurance increases, and perhaps you could use some of the COVID relief money, since a lot of the emergencies seem to be increasing since the vax. I myself have a daughter that I'm supporting, her and her 2 sons, because she was vax injured from with 2 strokes. I'm widowed, I'm on a fixed income as well, and you do work for us. You need to revamp your budget to help support our firefighters, or reduce your own salaries, or pay all of your fair share in taxes as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Dagmar Dolger, and I live at 1172 Apache Drive in Northwest Port Charlotte. I think your taxes are way too high. This is the 3rd county I reside in, and this is about almost triple taxes that I paid for a home. And you should learn to budget and go with the times. This is not the economy to go through increases in taxes, because we are all on fixed income. We cannot make more money. We get what we get. And if you increase taxes, that means we are going down. You are really working on our life standard. You are really lowering our living standard. I don't know if you are aware of that. And if you are in firefighting, stay in that business, because leave that other stuff to AMS and EMS and all the other stuff, doctors. You don't need to have that. Stay with firefighting. It's needed here. We do not have fire hydrants. We do not have proper ditches because we are flooded. Every time, like last hurricane was a disaster. We do not have anything like running water or anything. We have septic tanks and our own water wells. But we are paying taxes like we are living in a city. This is ridiculous. Excuse me, and thank you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, please.
Larry Gibson. I'm a Deep Creek resident, 25329 Marulia Drive. Thank you for the opportunity to address you. I appreciate it very much, and that you're willing to listen to us, our pushback on this. Appreciate that. I'm a retired minister. I moved here from the state of Oregon 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago. I retired 5 years ago. At that time that I moved here, we moved here for 2 reasons. First of all, our son flies for Allegiant Airlines and has 5 children, so to be close to the grandchildren was important to us. Secondly, it was an affordable place to live. I don't know that I could move here if I were to retire today and move to where we live now. I don't think we could afford it. That's how much it has increased here. As I said, I live in Deep Creek, and looking at this notice, getting 2 increases like this, let me give you a little bit of background of what's been happening. And some of this has already been said, I'm sure, but this is my story anyway. We all got hit in Deep Creek after Ian with an increase in our Property Owners Association fees to do cleanup, and that was a surprise to us. We thought our dues, and I attend board meetings, I attend their annual meetings, so I'm aware of their budget, and we thought it was going to be handled. It wasn't. We ended up with a fairly significant increase. All of us as well, and I've heard this said here tonight too, are dealing with our own financial crisis after Ian. Insurance companies have raised the rates 2 years in a row, the year before Ian and now after Ian, trying to renew our policies. And some of us are wrestling with our insurance companies to get repairs done on our homes that they're refusing to do, and we're having to pay for that out of pocket. Personally, I have to replace windows on my home that they say Ian did not cause, rain damage caused it. Well, where did the rain come from? You know, that's the argument I have with them. It's ridiculous what you have to go through. So here we are getting assessed with more. And that doesn't even mention, it doesn't even take into consideration, someone mentioned it earlier, higher gas prices. Inflation is killing us. Just literally, we're taking money out of retirement to get things done on our home and just to live. We're watching our retirement just dwindle. Stock market is down, has been down with Biden economics. It's ruining our lives. And we're tired of it. I'm tired of it. We're having to use money out of our retirement funds just to be able to live. And here we get this kind of an assessment. Now, I will tell you that 2 years ago, I had a heart attack. And fire and rescue was there within minutes. I love them. I love having fire and rescue. I love anyone in uniform. I think they do a service to our community that is necessary, and I'm happy to pay my share of taxes. But to dump an increase like this on us for more fire and rescue, whatever it's for, but also the Deep Creek assessment is more than we can bear right now. The timing is not good for this, if there ever is a good time for this. I think it's not a time to increase taxes. I would reiterate what has been said. It's time to look at how we can cut taxes in this county. It's becoming an unaffordable place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a lot more cards. Is there anybody outside that needs to, is there anyone that has not spoken that wants to speak? And just, if you want to speak, let me know if you filled out a card or not. I'll try to find it.
Neil Figueredo, 3308 Depew Avenue, Port Charlotte, Florida. It's my 32nd year here in Charlotte County, and I was a former member of the Charlotte County Republican Executive Committee, which I hung a lot of signs out for you guys on the street when you were both running, except for the gentleman on the end. But Stephen R., Mr. Truitt, and of course Dr. Constance. Yeah, you know, it's just so difficult right now for so many people to deal with what's going on. The emotional stress that people are going through. I've been here since, you know, Charlie and the rest of the hurricanes, and this tax increases is just way too much. It's just so emotional, struggling for so many people. You know, one of the things, I was a landlord here for many years, and one of the things that used to irritate the heck out of me was my inability to try to keep rents down. And you talk about the rent situation right here in Charlotte County. So many people cannot afford the rents, and the biggest reason for that, in my opinion, is the cost of taxes and insurance. They've gone way out of sight. And also, as a landlord, I was not permitted to work on my own property. If I needed to fix a window in my own home, I could get a permit to fix a window in my house and have it inspected, and that's okay. However, you made me a felon had I fixed a window or replaced a window in one of my rentals. And one time I called and said, why am I not allowed to do that? If I tried to get a permit to one of my rental properties, have it inspected, permitted, and inspected, but I'm not allowed to do that. I called the office one time, he said, well, I called, he said, well, you make money being a landlord, that's why you can't do that. And I never quite understood that. I didn't know I was supposed to lose money being a landlord. Well, I guess that was the situation. But that's very true. I could not change a door without getting a permit on one of my rental properties. Even though I was quite knowledgeable, Rector's was very capable of doing that, but was not allowed to legally do that. So I got to tell you that, you know, I sold all my properties because of that reason. Because of that reason. because, and I tell you, I was a very, very good landlord. Every renter that I had from me said, Neil, you were the best landlord we ever had. Had tenants 18 years in one of my properties. 18 years. Other ones 12 years, 14 years. You know, when they called me, I went and fixed things and took care of them right away. And worked very, very hard to keep my rents down. But it really is heartbreaking today to see the people who cannot afford to even rent here and to move out. Try to find a place that's less than $1,500 a month for a little tiny place over there in the old section. At $1,500, $1,700, $1,800. And you know, so many of these folks don't make that kind of money. There's 2, 3, 4 people living in the same house to try to keep a roof over their heads. It's very sad. Pretty soon we're not going to have anybody to do the work that we need done around here, you know? And like I said, 32 years I've been here. I've seen so many changes. But the cost is just going, it's becoming out of reach for most people. And this 25% increase is just way too much. And by the way, I have tremendous respect for our law enforcement here. And I have 80 years of law enforcement in my own family. And also the sheriffs, the fire department, they do a tremendous job. I'm very thankful to have them here also. And however, you know, the costs have got to be, we've got to find a way to keep these costs down because so many people aren't able to afford that. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Okay, I have still a lot of cards of people who did not come up to speak. I'm going to one more time offer if anybody wants to speak on this item, you may come forward. Please come forward. Okay. Well, then you can hand it to the deputy, and then I'll put it in the stack.
My name's Kevin Kenneth, and I'm going to violate a few things that I thought I would never do, and that is where I came from. Because unlike my wife, whose family came here in the 1700s, I am a transplant. But over the years, 18 that I've been coming down here, 9 I've been living here, I've seen a lot of growth. And where I came from, that meant ratables. And that meant people were paying taxes. And the cost increases for services rendered by the public service, by the towns, was passed on to those new people. Because as housing development, we live on Route 31, or State Road 31, excuse me, we had that Babcock Ranch development being built. Many homes. That was supposed to be 10-acre ranchettes, but now it's high density. They're all contributing, at least they should be contributing, to the taxes, to the funds that the fire service needs, the county needs, for all the increases of services that they render. The department I retired out of hasn't raised taxes in 15 years because people want to move into that community. They're buying up 2, 3 houses, bulldozing them and putting up McMansions. And the fire department looked at it and said, yeah, we're going to lose the $50,000 houses, but we're going to get a $5 million McMansion. Cha-ching. Now, they were Class 1 fire department, ISO rated when I left. They have since dropped to a Class 2. Now everyone's going to probably think, well, they haven't raised taxes in 15 years, services have depleted. The ISO rating only affected commercial insurance ratings. They went up 1% or 2. But the industry could afford that. The tax increase or the increase in insurance did not get passed on to the resident. So I'm wondering, does finances work similar down here? I'm ignorant in that regard. But are all these new places contributing to your tax revenue and into your coffers so that the services can be, increased for the amount of cost and services that are being rendered to them? Again, new construction always meant ratables to us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. I've got one more card coming in. Go ahead and move. Yeah, thank you, sir.
I wanted to come up here and to speak on behalf of...
State your name for the record.
I'm sorry, sir. Matt Kankar. I'm on Sullivan Avenue in Port Charlotte. And I'm just wanting to mention that I was seeing that you have all the cards in your hand. There were hundreds and hundreds of people that were wanting to speak and wanting to hear, but they couldn't get a signal or couldn't get the information they wanted while they were here. So they felt they had to leave to be able to even feel they could, excuse me, feel they could even see what was going on. So I think that it's just important that I want you guys to know, because you didn't see, I had to walk around the building to go from side to side outside. So I just wanted to make sure the impact was felt to you, how many people really cared about an issue. I know people have tried to downplay certain variations of how this might go, but this small thing is a big thing when it comes to the message it sends overall to the community. I was really proud of how many people came and spoke tonight. I'm sorry, I'm very nervous to speak right now, especially at the last moment here, but this is a different kind of style. I'm used to speaking in front of people, but this is a cool venue to speak at, and I thank you for listening to everyone. But I think we need to consider in the future, when there's things like this, it probably will be of heavy public interest, trying to make a more viewable in-person accommodation to this. It was just bothering me. I was sitting out there on the TV, and I was standing there with all these people turning in their cards, and I thought, oh my gosh, I heard you talking about we'll be here till midnight or whatever, and I thought that might be true, but then hundreds of people are just leaving angry because they couldn't hear, they couldn't talk, they didn't know the process, because it was just, and I'm not blaming any one particular person, there was no one that could have managed it in the location we're at. And I hope that next time we can be more transparent so the public could speak more and we can all hear what's going on. And I know it's a difficult situation, but I'm sure in past experience with certain controversial issues, it's been seen that it draws a crowd, and I hope that next time we can do better. And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Anyone else? One last time. Gentlemen? Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I see no one else rising. I move to close public input portion of the public hearing.
I will second that, sir.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any opposition? Hearing no opposition, it passes unanimously.
So while the chairman's handing the cards off, we're just talking about the fire assessment right now, and then we still have four or five more, whatever's on the agenda. We just flipped them, so we will be speaking. Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. Gentlemen.
Can we call the chief back up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.